On this episode of the Grow Your Video Business podcast, learn the key to stop scrambling for additional crew when you land jobs that require more than just you. Also, how Juan has landed video projects with Puma and other major brands, the importance of overcoming a scarcity mindset, and learn how preparedness will propel you forward. What is up, my friend? I'm Ryan Coral from the Grow Your Video Business podcast. Oh, man. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, I wanted to let you know before we jump into the episode, October 11th, which is coming up real soon, we are going to be celebrating episode 250. I've recorded episode 250, and it's pretty heartfelt. It's really my journey over the past 5 years. I would love for you to check out that episode, but more importantly, I would love for you to join me live on October 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Best way to do that is I'm going to be inside of our Facebook group. It's called Grow Your Video Business. If you just search Grow Your Video Business on Facebook, you will find the group. It's a free group. Join the group and mark it in your calendars to be with us on October 11th. I'm going to give away some cool stuff, and it's going to be like a party, virtual party, unless anybody wants to come to my home studio. Actually, I could host you at our big studio. Just let me know if you want to come, okay? All right, let's grab a word from our sponsor, Core Group, and then get into the episode. If there was one thing that could have ended my business 17 years ago, it would be because of the numbers. I hate accounting, taxes, W-9s, W-2s, W-40s, spreadsheets, all of that stuff. And I hate it mostly because I'm afraid of it. I'm just not great with numbers. If this sounds familiar, or if you're so new in your business that it's not even on your radar yet, you need Core Group. Core Group can help you create financial systems and tax strategies that you need so you can grow profitably, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. They become an extension of your team so that you can stay in your lane of expertise and then lean on them to help guide you along the way. For me, having a team of experts in my corner to help keep track of our books and just to make sure that we're budgeting for taxes appropriately, to have an actual strategy for our taxes and our accounting is priceless, and it allows me to sleep easier at night knowing that I don't have to be an expert in that arena. If you want to avoid surprises in your video business and you want experienced help building a plan for the future that you want, both professionally and personally, head over to studiosherpas.com/core for more information. And when you're ready to set up a free consult with them, make sure to mention Studio Sherpas for a special discount too. Got your back. Get more out of your accountant. Go to studiosherpas.com/core. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to this episode. Today, my guest is Juan Ortiz, who is a self-taught filmmaker and president of Red Pen Media. Juan, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, Ryan? How's everything with you?
So good, man. So good that we got to do the intro twice because I botched it the first time, but here we are just living the dream.
Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Where in the world are you?
So right now I am in my conference room in my studio space in Newtown, Pennsylvania. So I call it the dungeon. You know, it's a really quiet, really nice open space where we get to create, have our meetings in our conference room, and then we have our edit suite. So we just get busy. I just love working and staying creative. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's cool. So do you have like client meetings at this studio space?
Yes, primarily a lot of things are still online, with everything that's going on with the current climate. But from time to time, we have a boardroom where we come in, we have the all the Apple technology. So if you want to wirelessly send something and share concepts and ideas on our big screen TV, we do that with the clients. It's really big for me to be very collaborative. That's been something that's been really, really helpful for me in my business through the years. I've heard horror stories of clients hiring production companies, and it's like my way or the highway, and it doesn't work like that. So being collaborative is a very, very big thing for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. So Juan, for our audience, I first heard Juan on Clubhouse. This is like months and months ago.
Yeah.
I had a very short stint on Clubhouse. I thought it was fascinating. It was really cool. I met some really cool people, Juan being one of them, but I heard Juan sharing in this videographer's forum, and I was like, man, this guy is like adding tons of value and bringing bringing a perspective about video business that a lot of people weren't talking about, and I just thought it was really cool. And the amount of time that you were spending to help other people, I just think is so commendable. So number one, thank you for doing that, and that's just that's why we're here today, because I was like, man, if he's going to bring some value on Clubhouse, like let's get him on the podcast to bring some value here. So bring the value, man, or else.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, It's all about sharing information. It's a big thing for me. I was born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey, a bit of a rough neighborhood, and a big thing when I go back, especially, during pre-COVID when things were more normal. I work with nonprofit organizations, and the big thing for me is to work with the youth. So it's a big thing to share information and let them know that that's okay, because where I'm from in lower income areas, that's not the case. It's all about just withholding information.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something in our culture as well. And that's something that I want to change. So it's just been a big, life-changing thing for me to, get the mindset of scarcity out of my system
Yeah.
and just try to help as many people as possible, because when you take care of people, people take care of you. And that's been, a living testament with me through all the years that I've been in business with video production.
Dude, I love that. That's really great. For you, like where did that come from? Where did that desire to be different and to want to help change things? Where did that come from?
I would say it started from my mom. I was in a single parent household, and my mom has a heart of gold. She'll help anyone, anytime, and that's something that really resonated with me. It stuck with me, and it just, just as I was growing up, just seeing people that loved my mom. She was the type
Mm,
of woman that every weekend, weather pending, there would be some kind of cookout, some kind of gathering. It didn't even need to be anything special. She just wanted to always have people just spend time with each other and have a good
mm,
time. So that's something that really stuck with me. And my grandfather, as well, he was the same way. So it was just,
oh,
playing dominoes and cookouts every weekend. And that's actually how I got into film. When I was a kid, he had the huge camcorder with the VHS tapes.
oh man,
Thing was like
bigger
probably as
than
big as
you
I am.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. This thing was huge on my shoulder, and that was my duty, was to run around and just document the festivities, and
yeah.
that's what started it all. I just loved it, and God rest his soul. My grandmother still has the hundreds and hundreds of VHS tapes on a wall, and from time to time I try to visit her and try to digitize things and just look back on those memories. So time flies, time really does fly. But yeah, VHS tapes on these huge camcorders, that's how it started.
That's amazing. That's probably why your muscles are so big. It's just all that work of the heaviest cameras in the world.
Oh man, we're spoiled nowadays.
Yeah. Seriously, dude. Yeah, carrying around like a little gimbal with one hand, like kind of barely with
Hmm.
like two fingers, as opposed to, glide cam days where I was pretty buff in like my prime of using a glide cam 4000 loaded up with all sorts of weights
Oh
and a
yeah.
big, decent sized camera with heavy batteries, and sometimes even, this is dating me, but I had an external hard drive that I would attach via FireWire, and that thing would get pretty heavy, but
Yeah, you said
I used to
FireWire,
be
man. I
macho.
used to love FireWire. Like, I was just like, to transfer information as fast as possible. Yeah,
Oh
that was
man.
that was the thing. The 400 and 800, I think, right?
Yeah,
FireWire.
400 came out, and then 800 was like, wow, you
Yeah.
can double the speed. This is amazing.
Yeah, time flies. I still have hard drives, old hard drives with like just old footage from back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, and yeah, I still have those FireWire ports, and they're still kicking. So
Oh
every
my
now and then I like
gosh.
to crack open the hard drive and
Yeah.
just go through memories and just laugh and have a good time.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, tell me
Hmm.
a little bit about your business. Like, what's an ideal project? What are you guys doing typically these days?
Yeah, so with Red Pen Media, we primarily focus on B2B. So our primary clientele is business owners.
Mm,
And that goes down, from small business owner all the way to enterprise. So we work with businesses of all sizes. And the reason why I like to have that flexibility of different business sizes is just just passion. Sometimes it's really fun, to work with larger businesses. Like I've worked with Reebok in the past. I have a great relationship with Puma, and those projects are really, really fun.
Mm,
And of course, the budgets are great. So it keeps the lights on and we have a good time. We meet a lot of good people. But there's just something really special with also working with small business owners. There's this satisfaction that I get where we collaborate, we come up with a game plan, we create some amazing videos for the small business owner, and to see it work and to see them grow. There's just something really, really special about that that you
mm,
don't really have that opportunity with the larger corporations and larger brands. You're just hired to, they just give you a whole rundown of what to do and what they're looking for. You do it and you call it a day. But there's just there's this opportunity to grow with a small business owner, and to me, that's something that I always want to do.
mm,
Um, no matter how big, the company gets, it just holds a special place in my heart to help people. And especially like during COVID, it was just a really interesting time with business owners not knowing what they're going to do, how they're going to
yeah,
survive.
yeah,
And while there was a large percentage of business owners that just went into hiding, there was also a small number of business owners that took advantage of what the new landscape was and wanted to go all out in terms of keeping visibility with their business and just pivoting and trying to figure things out.
yeah,
And that's the number one thing as a business owner is, that's a majority of the job, when you're owning your business, is to put fires out and find solutions. So I built some great relationships with the local business owners here. So
hmm,
quickly, what happened was I wanted to expand the business, and I wanted to, I don't know, I guess I have something with historic towns. So previously I was in Burlington City, New Jersey, and very historic town, very interesting space. But we outgrew our space, and the whole vibe with the city. I wanted to do more with the arts, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye. The city, particular people. So I wanted to take my talents elsewhere. So yeah, I had a great photographer friend that said, you know what, Juan, we always go out socialize in Newtown, Pennsylvania. So why don't you just come and check it out? And next thing he connected me with a broker, and the owner of the building loves filmmaking. So when we met and we talked, we just hit it off, and the space was perfect. And then I just went to town. I started shaking as many hands as possible.
mm,
So there's a lot going on in Newtown, and it's something different because pre-COVID, a lot of our work was travel work. So we were always traveling.
right.
Especially with Puma, and all that went out the window when the pandemic started. So it was like kind of like perfect timing with the expansion, but it was also scary because I moved in January, and then everything went haywire around March, like the second week of March, if I recall,
Hmm,
that year of the pandemic. So everything shut down. So our entire industry was frozen. And at the same time, I was trying to get married. And weeks prior, before the pandemic went public, my fiance at the time, we're married now, she went back to Colombia. She's from Colombia originally, and she wanted to get her wedding dress made there. So she ended up getting stuck for
oh,
6 months.
oh my gosh.
Yes. So between her being stuck for 6 months, thank goodness she was with family, our industry was frozen. So it was like, you know what? I'm a very, very optimistic person. And I just had to really, 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 settle down and figure out what we were going to do, and pivot because I love the space that we're in, and I didn't want to lose that.
Mm,
So I just got right to town in regards to trying to figure out what we can do. So remote editing was a big thing for me initially in the pandemic, and that was just a big adjustment for me as well because I'm always on the move. So to sit in a chair for hours on hours was a big adjustment for me during that time. But thankfully, everything worked out. We're still here, and through the midst of it, I've built great relationships with very interesting small business owners here in Newtown, and it's just been great. I'm meeting new people, making new connections. Now I have more of a local clientele, which is something that I wanted outside of all the travel work, and
hmm.
it's just been great just connecting with people.
Love that. Well, tell me, what's the vision? Like, as you think about the future, dream about the future,
Of
where are
course.
you headed with this business?
I love filmmaking. I love my company. but I always talk with friends, and they feel the same way. I just feel like this video production, business is just a springboard for what's really, calling for me in a sense. I'm
Yeah.
really big on, as cliche as it might sound, because there's so many people doing it, motivational speaking, and just building people up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're into like master numerology, but a buddy of mine put me into it, and he's like, "What's your birthday?" He did all the
Oh
numbers,
yeah.
adding it
My
up. He's
friend
like,
Heather. Yeah,
"Okay,
she told me
she's
all
into
these
that, huh?"
things, and I was like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like,
So he's
wow,
like, "You're a
that's pretty
22."
fascinating.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Okay, what's the 22 reference?"
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
builder, you're a master builder. And
Mm,
he's like, "It makes sense because you always put other people first." And that's just a big thing for me, is just there's just something that you can't put a price on with just helping people grow and winning together. I tell people all the time, it's boring. If you're being selfish and you're winning by yourself and you're at the top by yourself, it gets boring very, very fast. And
mm,
there's but so many things you can experience and buy before you just start having this realization that you're not happy.
yeah,
And that's the number one thing for me, is to live a life full of happiness and genuine joy.
yeah. That's great. Well, it makes me think about, like, so you've got a team that work with you. Like, are they full time, part time? How does that? What's the makeup of your team?
So I have a very interesting dynamic, and one of the reasons why I like to move like this is because I want people, like, ownership is a big thing for me. So, like, going back to like where I was born and raised, ownership is something that's not talked about
Mm,
um, at all, really. So with these creatives that I'm around all the time, we collaborate a lot. So like for those that don't have their own LLCs or their own businesses, I've been one to teach them and help them how to
mm,
start their own business.
yeah.
And I'm just a big believer that I'm very particular with my energy. And when you keep good people around and you help people get to the points of where they want to be in life, they'll always come back no matter what. And in filmmaking, even the greats, when you find particular creatives that you mesh really well with and
Mm,
have great chemistry, you stick with the same team. If you have a winning team, you really stick with the same team. And that's just something that we've been doing here, where a lot of my work is subcontracted, but it's collaboration as well. So
yeah.
um, everyone has their own business, and we all come together, and it's just, we ring each other's phones all the time, and we just keep each other busy, and we just keep the money in the house, as we say, which has been a great thing. And then as time goes on and we meet new people, if I really see something special in someone, and they're really hungry to learn and to really, take the bull by the horns, I'm all about, bringing people in and just putting them under the wing and just surrounding them with good people and just helping them learn. But the number one thing for me is I can teach how to shoot, I can teach how to edit, color correct, but I really can't teach you character. And that's
Mm,
the first thing that I look for in a person, is just their character. And if it aligns with, what my values are, then I have an open door policy, which is welcoming you, and however, even down to the resources, like we have all this gear here, and on downtime when we're not doing client projects, I'm really, really big on passion projects where we come up with concepts and ideas, and we just create some really cool stuff that's been amazing, that's helped particular filmmakers that we work with get sponsorships from different camera brands and so forth. So it's been a really cool ride. And despite how crazy everything is, with what we're going through in this current climate, it's been a blessing in disguise as well, because just having appreciation for people in general has always been a big thing for me. But it's like, it's even bigger. It's even more important than ever, and I feel like a lot of people are gravitating toward that as well, just understanding how important it is to network with good people and have good
yeah.
people around, because as with everything that's been going on, like mental health has been a big, big thing. And I've spent numerous hours on the phone with different creatives, just not talking about work, but just talking about how you're doing, what's going on in your life. And that's just created even bigger and better bonds, where it actually translates into the projects that we're working with, whether it's passion or client, and it just makes us better creatives at the end of the day.
I love that. Yesterday, I went to the Henry Ford Museum, and they had the Jim Henson exhibit
Okay.
there, which was just awesome. Like I took so many pictures. I'm usually not the person that's like taking pictures of all the things, but I was there taking pictures of all the quotes on the wall and like they had like storyboards, and I was just like mesmerized. And you talk about, you find people that you can work with, that you mesh with when you find a winning team. And I mean, that's exactly what Jim Henson did. He had like 3 or 4 core people, Frank Oz being one of those, that he worked with for a long time. And it was just a winning combination. Like, he loved that relationship. He loved what they were able to create. I think you hit on a really good point that
It's everything.
like you can be solo, but in that, I mean, for most people, like there's this like longing for something more, and typically it's not like the perfect client or the perfect job. It's like who you get to spend the majority of your time with, who you're creating with, who you're
I agree.
getting to do this kind of stuff with. So I love that. I think that's incredibly valuable insight and something that's worth spending time in. I think there's some people that say, man, I don't have time. I've tried to find people that I can work with, and it just hasn't worked. Or I don't know how. Like, I'm not that good at like starting relationships. I don't know how to work with other people. I'm curious, when you're talking about doing projects with other business owners, not passion projects, because I think that's pretty easy to just say like, hey, let's come together and like let's do this thing. Like, are you doing like paid projects with other business owners, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so back to what I was saying earlier, with I work with the same people 90% of the time.
Mm,
And whether it's coming here and just connecting and building and talking about how we can help each other. So I'll make an example. So let's say if I have a client, and it's going through Red Pen Media, for instance, I will hire my friends. And the great thing that I've been blessed with is having friends that have passions in different roles. It's so hard. A lot of the times everyone wants to be the director,
right.
everyone wants to be the DP, and it's like, okay, but if there's like a room full of directors and DPs, like who's gonna AC, who's
Right.
gonna gaff, and who, people need to be the PA sometimes too.
Right.
And even as the owner of the company, I primarily produce, do sound, and I cam up a lot of the times. And and I stay in those roles. I don't want to be a
Yeah.
DP. I want to give that opportunity to other people. And a lot of people, it's hard to find a really good sound guy. So I find myself doing a lot of sound stuff, but I'm not
Mhm.
scared to get my hands dirty. And I would never tell anyone to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So I love being in the trenches. I love
Yeah.
filmmaking. I don't want to be that owner that's like in his office all day and just sending people out and calling it a day. Like, no, like the whole experience of just building with your crew and also with the client as well
Yeah.
is just something that I love doing. So I'm always going to be on location for all the projects and so forth. So, for instance, client project goes through me, and what I would do is I would just subcontract all my buddies. And the one thing that we have that's rare and special is once the project's out and we create it, if that can help you land more work, then put it on your website, put it on your
Agreed.
reel.
Yeah.
It's all about helping each other. And some people may call me crazy, isn't that a conflict of interest? It's not when you're keeping it all in the family. And that's something that a lot of people have trouble. We talk about it all the time. There's people that'll DM me on Instagram, and different platforms, and they're like, how do you build your team? And it's not easy. It's a very patient
Yeah.
process. It's like any relationship, if you're meeting your boyfriend or your girlfriend, the first date, everything takes time. If you really care about someone, it takes time. You can't
Yeah.
rush things. And the thing I like to tell people, do you like microwave food or do you like home cooked food better? It's more of a process. It
Yeah.
takes longer for the home cook, but it tastes so much better. And people are always like, "Oh yeah, home cooked food, of course."
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, "Well, it takes time, and that's the same thing with building a relationship." So that's normally what we do. If one of my friends, if they have a client, they ring my phone, "Hey Juan, I want you to do sound on this project I have." It's a no-brainer. As long as I have the availability, I'm there. So that's kind of how our flow works. We're just all building our businesses up together, and it's all in the house. So despite which person in our collective gets work, there's a 90%, 90% chance that everyone that's in the collective is going to be a part of the project.
Hmm.
And I'm very intentional too with finding new people that are great people, character wise, to
Yeah.
fill different roles. So I think that's been the most challenging thing. It's a lot of people that come through our doors. I used to, pre-COVID, I did internships, and I'll never forget. I had this one student. He just graduated, and he's like, Juan, you're a great guy, and I don't know if you're up for it, but I have 22 other friends that all graduated from film school, and they want to be a part of this process that I'm involved in. And are you down to
Mm.
do it? And sure enough, I did. And it was overwhelming at first,
Oh.
but the big thing about it, and I warned the student. I said, "Look, man, there may be people that work harder than you, that may get further than you, in terms of opportunities if you don't work hard enough." Um, and sure enough, it did happen. But the great thing throughout the whole process is there were things, personally in his life that he needed to go through, that he went through during this internship, that changed his life. And sometimes, it's just not all about filmmaking. When you
Yeah.
walk through our doors, I want to get to know you. And outside of creatively working as a person, especially with mental health, if I can help you, whether it's just, lending an ear and talking about things, I'm all for it. And that's such a very important thing. And I feel like when you have this camaraderie with people, people will go above and beyond for you. I don't use the card often, but I know, like, it could be 2 a.m. and I can call on particular people for help, and they won't even second guess it. And that's the kind of relationships that we have here at Red Pen Media with our family of creatives.
Mm.
So it's all about ownership. I want people to spread their wings, um, and just have ownership. So I just don't want, like, I tell people all the time, you do, particular businesses, they have employees and stuff like that, but in filmmaking, it's a little different. We have like little loopholes, as they say, I guess, where you could just subcontract or you could
Hmm.
white label your service and so forth. And that's something that I've been taking advantage with, giving people that opportunity, where to me, it's not a conflict of interest,
Yeah.
and it's a way to just build everyone up together. So it's been great, and it's been working, and it's been very fruitful for people to know that, you don't have to worry about scrambling, like smaller
Right.
production companies that
Mm.
don't have employees, or they don't really have a lot of connections, especially maybe someone moved from the west to the east coast or vice versa, don't really know people. It's just comforting to know, I have a good, I would say, 15 people that I can call on, and
Yeah.
we're there to rock and roll. We're like the Power Rangers. We all come together, and we just, we crush these projects and knock them out the park and keep it pushing.
I love that, man. I resonate so much with what you're sharing here. When I started in this business 17 years ago, I joined the Video Association here in the state of Michigan,
Okay.
and I connected immediately with 30 or 40 other people that were members. And, to this day, I have dozens of people in the Metro Detroit area that I could call. And then, my network, goes wider than that. And I think with this mindset, this approach that you're taking, where it's like, hey, I want you to have ownership. I'm okay doing sound, like that's fine. Like it's more like the experience and then the end product. Like I don't, if we have a great time together, we feel like we all have like a voice, and people are hearing our thoughts and our opinions and whatever, and we're able to do this thing together. Like that's what it's about. So you'll continue to draw those kinds of people that share that mindset with you.
Agreed.
And there's always going to be the people that don't, right? They're about scarcity. They're about like, I can't share anything. Ryan, how did you start a business where you're like sharing your budgets and like talking about how much people should charge and how much you're charging, and how you're basically giving your competition like your contracts and the things that how are you doing that? And it's like, it's just a different approach to life. Like, I believe in abundance.
Yeah.
I believe that there's so
Oh
much
yeah.
stinking work out there. I believe that we can help each other. All these things that you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, Juan, I am with you. And this is so good. So the community that I've been building, over the past few years, this is where all this is born and bred from. So when you meet people that are a part of the Studio Sherpas or the Grow Your Video Business community, like, these are the people that are like, yeah, like this I can get behind this idea of abundance, and like, trying to approach projects more open-handed and trying to link arms with other people. I mean, if you were to tap on the shoulder of some of these people, and I'm using this is just a great segue. We're having an in-person event here coming up in October called the Onward Summit. In the first event that we did 2 summers ago, there are so many people that have worked with each other since meeting them face to face, since like spending time over a few days together, building trust, and like, wow, these people are talented. They can be my hand. Like, there are stories in this community of people flying and driving to different locations to help each other out because we're in this together. And to know that you've got incredibly talented people in your back pocket that want to be a part of your projects, you talk about scrambling. I totally get that. And I've been there where it's just like, oh my gosh, who are we going to call? And it's like, oh, we actually have like a pretty good database of people that we can call, and
It's awesome.
never really in a jam. And there have been a few times where, we were booked or double booked, and it was just like, to a client, it's like, we can't help. But in most cases, most scenarios, we've been able to, provide a solution. And sometimes that is just like totally passing the project off to somebody else and saying, hey, good luck. We referred this person to you. We're not going to do it. But it just makes everything so much more fulfilling, to feel like, wow, I'm a part of a tribe. I'm a part of something bigger than just myself.
Indeed.
And so it's just a shameless plug. If you're not coming to the Onward Summit, mark it in your calendars for October 3rd to the 6th. Juan, I'm going to invite you too, but really just for our listener who's like, I don't really have a tribe. I don't really have a community of people that I haven't tapped into yet. And how great would it feel to know that, hey, if a massive project comes your way, something that you've never worked on or done before, if you were able to tell that client, I haven't done this kind of project, but let me get back to you because I might be able to do this and to actually do it well so that you're confident that I can do it. And then to turn to the community and say like, hey, has anybody ever done a, fill in the blank? And if so, it's like, would you consider partnering with us and doing this project? Cool. Get back to the client. Yep, I actually do have, and here's how we're going to do it. And bada boom, bada bing. So anyway, there's the shameless plug for the Onward Summit. Juan, thank you for setting me up so nicely to share that.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. And, a few things that you were saying I relate to, like Clubhouse. There's a gentleman by the name of Parry. He's a fellow filmmaker, and he took an 8-hour drive, man. He had to take care of other things, but he's like, a good reason of this 8-hour drive to get into your area is to meet you.
Mm,
And I was just like so taken back in a good way to say, you know what, that's awesome that someone would go that far to do something like that. And
yeah.
after we had our conversation, he's like, look, if you have a project, let me know. I will drive the eight
Yeah.
hours. And I'm just like, I'm gonna make sure it's worth
Obviously.
your while
Yeah, right.
before you take that trip. And it's just amazing
Mm,
to know that you can inspire people like that. And it's just being genuine, and
yeah.
being transparent as well, um there's always something new when you're running your business. It's a never ending learning process. It's a never ending, I don't want to say scary, but you get nervous like when you open these new doors of growth. and you start getting nervous, like, oh man, I have this situation that I've never done. Like, how am I going to make it happen? Am I capable of doing it?
Yeah.
These are the signs of growth where, this is where you have to be transparent, open, and reach out to people. And it's been a great thing, both with me seeking guidance and vice versa with people, especially on the clubhouse. When we were in lockdown and we were spending hours, like my wife was just like, man, you're still on that app. And one time I just put it on speaker and she was like, I get it. You're helping
Mm.
people. I know it's a big thing for you. And then as like it started dying down, she's like, what's going on? Like, you don't have your AirPods no more in your ears talking. And I'm like, it kind of fizzled out. But there's particular individuals that, I to this day stay in contact with, and we've actually given each other work as well. So it's
Yeah.
has been a
Yeah.
great thing. And, that's the name of the game, is to grow and give back. And when I work with these larger corporations and I get to go into their headquarters when we do these like overview projects of, like, telling their story, it's all the same thing. Like,
Mm.
when you walk through I remember Nutrable, they're a parent company. They do stuff with they're into like lifestyle stuff. So like they have this amazing huge wall of just like motivational quotes. And the biggest thing that sticks out to me is just the whole element of growing and giving back.
Yep.
And people, a lot of people just don't get how important it is to,
Yep.
when you're in position to help other people. I mean, I feel like as a human being, like that's a big piece of our purpose being here on earth. And there's people that, materialistic wise and monetary wise, they may have more than they need and find themselves unhappy and just don't know why they're unhappy. And I feel like that's a big reason, is just you're not playing in that role of that gift that's been given to you and
Yeah.
that purpose of helping people. There's just
Hmm.
something you can't put a price on when you have someone ring your phone or come to you or give you a gift and just, tell you how much, your help has meant to them, especially during recent times.
Yeah.
I had a great filmmaker friend that just reached out to me. He's like, you have no idea. I was in a dark time in my life, and I was thinking about things I shouldn't be thinking about, and you've motivated me and inspired me
Mm.
so much that it's actually, turned my whole life around. And those are the things that, make me smile, make me happy. And that's why, earlier, like I was saying, I just feel like this whole video production thing is just a springboard. And that's why the whole storytelling element, like in Red Pen Media, that's such a big thing for us, is with the visuals that we create, it has to tell a story. I don't like to create mindless content. I'm really big on trying to pull some sort of emotion out of people with the
Mm.
content that we create, and giving value too. So that's one thing that's incredible about, what you're doing, Ryan, is you're giving people so much value through your content, and that's just something that's incredible that, is life changing. And we're so spoiled. We're in this a day and age of where our phones, I remember like being a kid, like talking, like imagine, when our cell phones become computers and we have the internet and, we have color screens. I remember the Nokia phones. We were just like, you have to press like one button like 7 times to type one letter, and text messaging.
Oh man.
And now we're here with iPhones and what, if you're a Samsung person, hey. But now there's no excuse to not figure things out and find solutions, because you can literally whip out your phone, Google a problem, and I would say 85% of the time there's some sort of answer to your problem. And it just blows my mind that, some people
Hmm.
still don't even take advantage of, the technology that we have. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm very mindful of that.
Yeah. I love that. That's really cool. I would love to. I don't know if this is like if there's an easy answer for this, but as you look at, or as we hear, like, wow, like Juan's worked with Reebok, he's worked with Puma. How does one go about getting a gig like that, or multiple gigs like that?
Man, it's relationships are everything. Like,
Hmm.
plain and simple. It's just relationships that got me those opportunities, and success um to me is when preparedness meets opportunity. If you're prepared for the opportunity, you can't lose. And that's why I tell people all the time, you need to be studying, you need to be sharpening your sword, and you need to be learning at all times to be ready for things. You never know when a big opportunity is going to come your way. And that's pretty much what happened. It was just being at the right place at the right time,
Hmm.
creating, shaking hands, networking, and you know, being presentable is a big thing. So like, I made sure I had a clean website. Social media is a big thing. Like you can actually shoot yourself in the foot. So I'm very careful with what I post, what I say, because like if you come off unprofessional and there's a larger client that's interested, a lot of the times they go through all of your social media platforms to see if you're a good fit for the brand,
Right.
because that's a big thing. They don't want to hire a vendor that reflects poorly on their brand, or it's like applying for a job. You send in your resume, do your interview, you got to be the right
Yeah.
fit. So there's a lot of people that are very unprofessional on how they conduct themselves on social media. They don't invest in their business, so you got to look the part, and that's a big thing for me. It's like, with social media, there's a lot of people that fabricate things. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to be very transparent and honest.
Yeah.
And that's just something that's taken me so far. And, I'm addicted to business. I love it. I don't have an off button. So there's always something that comes out in our industry where I'm like, you know what? Back then I was very reckless. I would just buy anything and everything. And then I've learned to just like relax, and to say, you know
Yeah.
what, the
Yeah.
tools that I have right now are doing the job.
Hmm.
I don't need to buy every new thing that comes out. And it's funny 'cause I did like I have something on Instagram called Dropping Gems with Juan, and they're little segments where I share advice, and they do very, very well. And it actually, creates a lot of engagement in the DMs with people just like, connecting with the content that I'm creating. And as you grow and get older, you become wiser. So
Yeah.
now I'm very careful with what I do, but that's a big thing I feel with filmmakers. We'll stay on this industry of film production, but I just feel like a lot of people don't really bet on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nowadays with how fast technology is going, like you
Mm.
got to keep up with the pace. And it's funny because even a particular camera model that you own can open a door for you. You can have a red cam, and it could be a particular client, that could be a larger client that's looking, for a person that owns that particular camera, um, that can, create this opportunity, and you just need to be ready for it. So once
Hmm.
you're in the door with these larger brands, it's all about relationships. So the number one thing is I like to become best friends with the director of marketing. If I have that ability to have dialogue with the CEO, or the founder, I
Yeah.
cherish those relationships. And the
Yep.
big thing that I always talk about, and the social media marketer, the person that does the social media, that's a big thing, is how can I help you? How can I make you look good? And how can I take you to the next level in your position? So, when you have, for instance, a director marketer, a director of marketing. I worked with a previous company, and me and the director of marketing hit it off. Like they're like, Juan, you're so fun to work with. The quality of work's amazing, and experience is a big thing for me as well. So like you can create the best content, but like I don't know, I don't want to use profanity, but if you're an ass, people don't like working with mean people, disrespectful people. The experience is a very important thing. So if people can have a good time with you and you're outputting amazing work as well, it's just a win-win. And you never know, people get promotions or people move on to bigger and better things. And that's been the big blessing for me, is there's been times where people in position of one brand moved on to other things and moved to another big brand, and they thought about me immediately, like, hey, I'm in the position of running this video campaign for this particular project, and they ring my phone, and that's the most satisfying thing, where you don't
Yeah.
have to go through a bidding process. It's just a direct call, and it's like, hey, does this resonate with you, and do you want to do it? And from there, like once you hit that first home run, it's like the phone just keeps ringing for things. And that's been the big thing for me with these bigger clients. It's all relationship based. I'm not a big cold calling, cold email sending person. because I don't like it. If there's not a
Yeah,
genuine
sure.
connection, especially if it's like really forced the email, I'm just like delete. And if I have the patience and time that day, I'll kindly respond to the email and say I'm not interested. But when you get bombarded with those emails and those cold calls so much, it's like there's but so much you could deal with. So
Yeah.
while it works for some people, I don't like doing that, and just relationship building has been a big thing, and just being genuine and transparent because there's people that do things and expect something, and they don't want to take their time with building the relationship. And I feel like people, they can smell BS from a mile away. So like if you're not
Yeah.
being, genuine, a lot of the times you're not going to get that opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. I think there's a fear in all of us. It's like, oh man, well I know there's other cheaper companies out there. Maybe I should lower my prices so I can get the job.
Oh no.
Relationship will trump that.
Yeah.
And then also like, oh, I know our work isn't as good as such and such agency, so somebody like Puma, or Reebok, or whatever, they're probably just going to hire the big company. There is a sweet spot for wherever you're at. So wherever you're at in your business, there is a sweet spot that somebody, some director of marketing or communication person or whoever you would get hired by wants what you have to offer. So like it might feel like, wow, like maybe I need to just be yourself, build the kind of authentic relationships that you can build, and you'll find those clients, and it might take some time. It's kind of like your metaphor earlier about like cooking some stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's not like you can't just pop that in the microwave. Sometimes that will happen. Sometimes there's a freak connection, like, oh my gosh, I know so-and-so, and then you end up doing, a project for some major brand or whatever. But a lot of times it's like, you're just doing the work, nose to the grind. You're shaking as many hands as possible, trying to get opportunities, doing stuff for free, doing all the things, and then the opportunity presents itself with the right kind of client.
Agreed.
So I think that's just such a good reminder for us to be ourselves, to be our authentic selves, and the right clients are going to hire us, and sometimes they are going to go the cheaper route because they're on a budget. But when it's up to them and they've got the budget, they're going to come to you. They're at least going to share their budget and say, this is we've only got this much. We don't want to offend you. I've had so many clients that have come to us after doing a bunch of projects with them, and they're like, we have this other thing that it's only like it's half of what we normally do stuff with you guys. Like, do you want it? And sometimes it's like, actually, like, we can totally do that, and here's how we can make it worth our time. Or there's this feeling of reciprocity where, man, you've given us so much work, like for us to do this for half the price or whatever, it's fine. Like, we're not super busy right now, we can do this gig. And that's the kind of stuff that relationships are built on. They
Agreed.
deepen, and there's just this like, it's like a real relationship where you can be honest, you can be open, you can say, you know what, we've got to pass on it this time, but normally don't hesitate to reach out on anything because we'd love to be able to say yes or no. And I think that's really good. Thank you for that
Yeah,
reminder.
it's huge. And at the end of the day, we're all just people, and everyone's doing their job. And like you were saying, there's times where the budget might not be there, but the scope of work is it's not crazy where,
Right.
you know, the average person may say, "Oh, there's no way I could do it for that budget." And then there's times where you got to really pick and choose your battles where
Yep.
you never know. And I've done that in the past. And there's times with even the larger clients, they're like, "Hey, our budget's not really there right now." And I said, "You know what? If we could do this and do that, we can make it work." And they're like, "That's awesome. Thank you so much." And then it's funny how like things work because almost every time that I've done that, there's been a particular person on the set, or whether it's an activation event, whatever it is, there's an important person there that takes a liking
Mhm.
to your work and how you are. And then that just creates a whole new opportunity. Now they're like, "Hey, what's your, you have a card?" And always be ready. That's what success is, when preparedness meets opportunity. And they check out your work, they love the social media, and next thing you know, it's happened plenty of times where you meet another influencer, they need a video person, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I compromised a little bit on the budget, but the relationship's more important. I really wanted to help the particular person, and then it just created an opportunity where I have a whole new client that's paying full budget. So imagine
Mhm.
if I said no, I would have never met that person. So you got to be really strategic in a sense, and when you have particular relationships that you have built over the years, it's there's more transparency, like you were saying, like, the people that I work with that I have great relationships with, they're not scared to share numbers and how can we make this work. It's all
Yeah.
trust, and that's the most important thing.
Yep. Yeah, love that. Super good. Really good. I don't want this to end. I knew that, from the start. I think we were both saying like, yeah, we could probably talk for a while.
We could
We've
talk
got to
for
wind
hours.
down. Before we do end, are there any like books, podcasts, other resources that are inspirational for you that you would recommend to other video business owners, people that are wanting to grow in this business?
There's so many books. I'm such a bookworm.
Yeah.
And it got to the
Give
point
us a
where,
couple.
oh man. So you know what? Let me pull my iBooks library out really, really quick. Um, where are we here? Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you're fine.
This book that I just it's my second time reading it, but it's such a great book. It was where are we here? I just read it. Now I can't find it.
Of course.
Oh, here we go. So the last book that I read that's just like, when you read a book a second time and you're in a different mindset, it's just like it resonates
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
It's a book called Switch by Chip Heath. Incredible book. It's I don't want to spoil it, but it's like problem solving. Like it's like if you're it's for a beginning person, that's just started their business. I mean, even up to a person like myself, I've been, operating my business for over 10 years, and there's so many gems in that book. Um, Another book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale
Mm.
Carnegie. That's been a big one. I love the extreme ownership. That's something that really resonated with me with Jocko.
Mm.
Um, I believe his name is Mike Mickovitz. So like on the business side, his book Profit First and Fix This Next, it's really
Oh
good
yeah.
with like structuring your business. The Profit First was a great book. Like he has this
Yeah.
equation to show you like what's not being nurtured in your business and what you need to tend to, what's bleeding, if you're overspending and stuff like that. So that's been a really, really good book. You have the
Also,
classics.
just a little plug there. Mike McCallitz has been on the show, so there was
McCallits,
a
okay,
previous
okay.
episode. Yeah,
That's awesome. So it's McCallits.
yeah.
I want to know how to pronounce people's
McCallowitz.
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 Okay,
Yep.
McCallowitz. Yeah, his books are awesome.
Yeah, so good.
Um,
Super actionable. Super relevant.
yes, yes. And then the last book I'll share, um, that was incredible. So I was doing this. I was hired to do a campaign for 4 trucks, and I met a CEO. Like we were like documenting different small business owners that were going through the difficulties of COVID. And I met the CEO of a very successful company. And this gentleman, he keeps hundreds of this particular book in his trunk. And when he meets people that
Wow.
inspire him, he actually pops the trunk open and gives you a book. And he gave me one, and it's a really short read. And I love it because it's all about accountability, and it's called The Question Behind the Question, QBQ by John G. Miller. It's a really,
Hmm.
you can literally read the whole book in one day. If you're a
Yeah,
bit of a slow
interesting.
reader, 2 days. And, that book was life changing. And it just blew my mind. Like when he popped the trunk open and he's like, hey, I give these books to people that I see potential in and I meet. And this guy, he runs a multi-million-dollar business. And he's like, this book changed my life. And I just want to
Yeah.
share that.
Well,
And that's where we resonated. And reading is so important. I tell people all the time, I'm
yeah.
a bookworm. I read every single day. And it'll change your life. I'm primarily big on the self-help books, but every now and then I like to break it with a novel here and there. But a lot
Sure.
of the times I'm just like, I'm addicted. I just like, how do I get better? How can I become better?
Yeah.
How can I
That's
inspire
great.
people and share things? So those are a few of my book choices.
I love it. Juan, where can people find more out about you? How do I say that? Where can people follow you online and see your work and all that stuff?
So you can find the work at redpenmedia.com, and that's REDDPEN media.com. So I purposely misspelled red because, I just like to be a little bit of a rebel. So, you can be as creative as you want and do the things that you want to do as long as, you do it with the right intentions. And just
Mm.
quickly, with the logo, with Red Pen Media, it's a teacher's grade. Back in the day, I don't know if they still do it in school, but the red pen was the tool that the teacher used to correct mistakes. And that was a big thing that we were doing when we first started the business. Is a lot of clients would come to us with horror stories like, hey, I just, hired so and so, it was a terrible job. And we would come and clean up the mess and correct the mistakes. And, the projects that we output and create, that R is the teacher's grade and the equivalent of an A. And that's how, we got the whole thing together with Red Pen Media, which is really, really cool. So yeah, redpenmedia.com. And then on Instagram, I'm very active on Instagram. My personal Instagram handle is Juan, Juan _Red Pen, REDDPEN. And then I have the company Instagram, at Red Pen Media. And I try to be as active, and I try to, answer, I get a ton of DMs all the time. And I'm all about connecting. So feel free to reach out, and, I'll reach back out.
I love it. And that's how we connected, was over Instagram. So
Yeah.
appreciate you
Yeah.
reaching back out. Juan, this was super fun, man. Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for inspiring. Thank you for your story and giving back. It's all great stuff. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you so much,
being
Ryan.
able to be together today.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you so much for hanging out on this episode of the Grow Your Video Business podcast. If you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, leave a comment and let me know what your biggest takeaway is and how you're going to apply that in your video business. Also, if you haven't signed up for the free workshop that we have, I teach you the steps that we currently use and actually have been using for a long time on how we get a client's video budget. So much time can be wasted on a phone call or a Zoom call or whatever, talking with a potential client only to find out that they don't have the kind of budget that it requires to do the kind of project that they want to do. So you can sign up for this free workshop if you go to studiosherpas.com/budget. Almost forgot what it was called. So go grab that workshop. It's about 40 minutes long, and I'll take you through our process. And I've heard from a lot of people who are using that, who've applied it, and it's been very, very helpful for a lot of people. So don't take my word for it. Take their word for it. Also, October 11th, we're going to be celebrating episode 250 of this show. Oh my gosh, 250 episodes. It's insane. So if you are not in the Facebook group, search on Facebook, Grow Your Video Business, and join that group. And I'll see you on October 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And we'll have a great time. Going to give away some stuff, and it will be excellent. Most excellent. So until then, keep on climbing, my friend. I'll talk to you real soon. See ya.